For many years, I sought to be an agent of change in our society, to deliver a sort of self-fulfilling prophecy on my own volition. And intrinsically, these dreams of change were not for power or justification, but of a hedonist ideal for the greater good. And I rejected both the republicanism and democratic dogmas, both of the church and of hell, and of pain and of glory. And so it was here that I laid waste to all of this relativity, and I found refuge in absurdism by Camus, of Übermensch by Nietzsche, of the shadows in Jung. And so, yet all of these greatly influential and undoubtedly prosperous thinkers seemed to tell me, at least ambiguously and unanimously, that they were indeed distraught by their own existence. And they had all whispered the same message to me, which was that they fantasized about the demise. And so the demise, in this case, it's not a suicidal ideation or a major depressive disorder, but of a spiritual contention. They fantasize a world that is their agent of change. So Camus focused on absurdity because the world forgot its own spectrum and gray areas, and Jung had metaphorically shed lights on shadows because he could feel his own consciousness as inadequate. Nietzsche idealized culture because his world lacked it, and I speak of demise because I was never given a beginning. And so here we are, all of us together, and we're idealizing a society that will not and could not ever exist. And therefore, I hypothesized that humans learn to love the demise. It is within our demise that we can begin again, a renaissance of our fantasies. We focus our energies on an intuitive hope that someday, somehow, our modes of thinking may be appreciated and further recognized. And it is in our deepest sufferings and, I suppose, misunderstandings that we grasp so tightly onto the demise. And some call it God and some call it fate, but the fact remains that we wish to be seen and heard and understood. And what could understand us better than demise? So, in this sense, the demise could be personal self-destruction. And we see this every day. And clear examples of, for example, substance use disorders, where these bright and talented individuals choose to escape their own realities rather than face them. So once one is rejected so deeply and displaced by society, the demise outweighs their efforts in reality. So there's that, and there's also the fact that the demise may also be a fantasized future where one's personal disappointments and achievements were not appreciated in their current reality. Therefore, the demise becomes heaven to them. So Erik Erikson, for example, he describes ego integrity. And this is sort of when one comes to terms with their life. They do not fear death, they have no anxiety about death, but rather they're accepting their fate as it stands. However, there is much to be said about those who cannot accept the compliances of society, and this is what I am calling Cyrus syndrome, and I'm penning it gracefully after Cyrus the Great of Persia. So to me, Cyrus syndrome could be characterized by a love and deep connection for Demise, in this instance as an ode to renaissance and new discovery and new explorations, because man is built to explore, to change, and to adapt, as did Cyrus following the Babylonian era. And those with this syndrome do not hate life, but they ironically and passionately love it, so much so that they have exceeding expectations on life. And there are numerous limitations on life. We have economic status and education, nepotism, class and caste systems, religions, and a big one, government, all of which fuel the syndrome further. It is but an insatiable thirst for exploration and pure freedom that becomes the focal point of this syndrome. So, to further analyze this, I want to argue that Cyrus syndrome should have no negative connotations to the person suffering. Rather, it is a reflection of society decaying. Cyrus syndrome is most notable in corrupt civilization. Especially those with this syndrome dream of yesteryear, of past decades. They fantasize of a Renaissance era, since their own civilization does not adequately meet their needs. And likewise, this is a needs-based issue. It ultimately demonstrates basic hierarchy of needs given by Maslow, yet Cyrus syndrome subjects are barred from self-actualization, not due to their own accord, because given the opportunity on their own accord, they would most certainly take the opportunity to self-actualize. But it's because their society does not allow the sufferer to accomplish it. Therefore, if society does not grant the ability to self-actualize, the demise will.